You're good.
Welcome to com26v.com Conference of the Movements. We welcome you back to our World Peace Conference with myself. My name is David Cam, one of the three peacemakers. We have with us here Sherry Lewis, is also another of the three peacemakers. And we have Mesfin Zaid, our brother, could not be here with us because he had some urgent family matters. As you know, we are in trying times right now, and there are a lot of many families are facing difficulties. So please excuse us some of the times for having time delays, or most of them are due to family issues that are coming on, and many people are facing those issues. Sherry, would you like to introduce yourself first, who you are? Then we can go into the World Peace Conference.
Yes. So I'm Sherry Lewis. My mom, Marianne Flores, Leponapachi, Kolatakikan, Scott Irish. My dad, Clarence Henry Lewis Jr., Welsh, and I am their daughter. Uh, the Neh and Lakota relatives, and this being Native American Heritage Month, we've been bringing on some of our spiritual leaders and mentors and elders in our Indigenous community to speak on behalf of things that are happening at this time towards that coming together, that unity that really needs to happen for the existence of our humanity. So, and protecting Mother Earth. So, for me, being a mother and a grandmother, my heart and what I'm walking in with David and Mesfin here with this journey, as David calls us, the three peacemakers, which I love. Um, is for humanity. And so in that, I'm going to go ahead and just open us up in prayer. There's been little tidbits here about some of my history and viewpoints you'll see throughout the show, so or throughout different broadcasts. But here I'm going to go ahead and lead us in prayer and let David talk a little bit about the vision. So thank you, Creator. I come to you humbly in gratitude. Creator, I pray for humanity, humanity as a whole, and those that are human beings and do have the responsibility of human beings. I pray for responsiveness. I pray for responsiveness and responsibility, because as human beings, we have a responsibility as stewards walking with other humanity. And in that responsibility, we have to be responsive for change to really happen. And Lord, I pray for the strength through this walk, and as others come through this walk, to keep them responsive, Creator, and responsible. And through that responsiveness and responsibility for our humanity, for our planet, for our elders, for our youth, for our next generations to come. Through that, the healing. Thank you. Let there be peace.
Amen. So I just myself. My name is David Cam. I'm from the Hakka tribe. Originally, our tribe came from entered northern China thousands of years ago, and we're called the guest family. Hakka means guest family or outsiders because we came from outside of China and entered China. And our tribe is very, because we didn't have our own land. Very few of us had our own land because when we entered China, there was already inhabitants already inside China. We became merchants for trading. So we have our tribe, the Hakka tribe, is quite large. We consists of about 100 million people spread out into 40 different countries. And in 1967, we declared independence and created our own country called Singapore. So we are one of the few tribes that have successfully created a sovereign, independent nation. Of course, all of the indigenous nations are sovereign and independent, but they were not able to exercise it. And we're here today to talk about peace on earth, to how to create a blueprint for peace on earth. We have noticed that for thousands of years, humanity or man, brothers and sisters, have been fighting each other and killing each other for thousands of years. And how can we create a culture and a blueprint for world peace when we have never lived a peaceful life? When my concept of peace is peace on earth for all of humanity and peace for Mother Earth. That means peace for nature. How can we keep on destroying nature and claim that there's peace? So it is the why we're destroying each other and destroying Mother Earth. It is what we call the illusion of separation, that we're all separate from each other, separate from nature, separate from Mother Earth, separate from the rivers, the air, and everything like that. And I don't believe that we're separate. We're all part of nature. A human being would not be able to live without the bacteria and the viruses and the fungus and the other microbes in our bodies. So they are helping us survive. So if we actually had removed all those microbes from our bodies, we would not be able to survive. So we are in a symbiotic relationship of all of nature. So we just don't recognize it every day. So, what is your opinion on that, Sherry?
Oh, David, I really think that that was beautifully spoken. The only thing I would say is that yes, we have been at war for, uh, countries for thousands of years. This is very true. At the same time, I do believe that here on Turtle Island, we did have a sense of peace between our peoples over 600 years ago. We did have intertribal wars, um, but we also had over 5,000 tribes here, and uh, a lot of the destruction through the doctrine of discovery uh, was brought here, and even earlier talking about the assimilation process. And so a lot of the trauma, I go back to this old saying often, and you might hear me say this: decisions. There's a saying that goes, if you don't make a decision, okay, it's like making a decision, because if you don't make a decision, it is a decision, because a decision will be made for you. Okay. However, when you don't have a choice in that decision making process, yeah, a very destructive decision was made that I thought, and I do believe, bring has brought in the past, and now that we are reckoning and healing through, a lot of trauma to this land. So I believe that truths have to be recognized at the same time with our indigenous cultures and around the world, and our peoples around the world, for that healing to really also take place. And so, but everything you said was completely spot on, David, and it was beautiful. Um, and we do have to come together in this unity and peace. And I believe that the Indigenous community has always had um, a way of wanting to take that path, but has had many treaties, all the treaties pretty much just decimated, and trust has been lost, and we're still undergoing modern day genocide right now. So all of these things need to be addressed by us thinking of humanity. And like you said, David, the only way that I believe that that process is going to happen is you have to change the heart and alter the mind, right? Or alter the mind, change the heart. And that's really through reflection, through uh, realization, not running. We have to own our reflection. You often hear people say they don't have regrets, right? Because they wouldn't be who they've become, or even if they've gone through major traumatic experiences. At the same time, if those choices uh, are put on you and you have no choice, then you work through it the best you can. Now, if you have regrets through choices that you've made on your own, the learning through that is the reflection, and being able to say, yep, you can learn from that because you've made a mistake, you regret it, you've learned from it. But to never own any of your mistakes or any of your regrets is a stop in growth, because you're actually running from the reflection. So I believe that accountability, reflection, responsibility is key towards us altering our mind and therefore changing our heart. Because if everybody keeps running around in denial, are not really focusing on the root of the healing, then where do we really end up? So I think some of these conversations that we've been having these last few days have been very powerful towards that blueprint, David, as you would put it, and structure in a sense, without the colonization aspect. That's not what we're speaking of blueprint or structure. I mean, this is definitely collective. Um, but walking together and bringing that one heart and one mind together. So thank you for what you shared. I believe it was very beautiful. I just wanted to talk a little bit, since it's Native American Heritage Month, um, also a little bit about those battles that were brought to us, because at one point we were walking in peace and in a good way with our Mother Earth, and that's actually what we need to get back to, is that in the early ways.
Sherry, thank you for the beautiful sharing. You said that we have to change our hearts and our minds, right? I have a different view of that. I think we have to connect our minds and our hearts together as one. So that will will
Well,
will
that's what I'm
also alter
saying.
the.
That's what I'm
bec-
saying. That's the same
be-
thing I'm saying. I'm saying alter the mind, change the heart, but it's that oneness, one heart, one mind. That's
yeah,
exactly what I'm saying.
right. But
Yes.
yes, I'm just trying to say the difference, because when you actually connect your heart and your mind together, a lot of indigenous people say the longest distance that you ever walk is a walk from your mind to your heart, because most of the people on this earth at this present time are not connected. The heart and their minds are not connected, and it's not like sometimes our hearts and minds are connected, but not all the time. The true we find true inner peace when the heart and the minds are connected to one another. Just an example, when you see a person on the street, something my uh, mother and father taught me is that we have to respect the same people. Let's say if the person is sleeping on the street, I said that, wow, this person is sleeping on the street. He's like a bum. My parents said no. They are just like us. They are one of us, you know. And my parents viewed that the same way, and they actually sometimes when you saw a person on the street, they would take them out for lunch or dinner, or or give them money. And I would sometimes say when I was a kid, I said, how come you give that person like $10? You just walk, you don't know them, like you put $10 in there. At that time when I was young, it was 1960s, around there. And they said, well, because we have to share what we have on this earth. Is because if you because well, you just remember, um, um, ourselves, we came very poor, and if all those other people that helped us, we have to contribute back to helping them. So
Hmm. That's right. We're definitely saying the same thing. And that was beautiful how you gave that analogy, and how the walk, connecting the heart and the mind can be the longest walk. Yes. And my point was it definitely has to start with one of them. That walk. That is it. It has to start with one of them. But yes, bringing the heart and the mind together. So very, very right.
and
Beautiful.
yeah, and the reason why we're connecting 1,000 indigenous nations together, we're connecting 1,000 hearts together.
That's
Like
right.
we're so we're heart to heart, two of the 1,000 nations coming together. And when you look at it, what's the reason why we bring the 1,000 nations together? We're connecting 1,000 nations together, heart to heart. Then our hearts are connected to the heart of Mother Earth.
That's
So
right.
what? So we are connected to the heart of Mother Earth. That means that when we are connected to the heart of Mother Earth, we recognize that as our mother. We will not hurt her. We will not destroy the waters, the air,
That's
the
right.
forests, and animals like that. So that's the way I view unity. How about you?
I view it the same way. We've had these discussions, and that's why we're together through this, David. So yes, yes, I think that was very beautifully put as well, and that's exactly it. And through that core and that part of our healing, um, that is, and connecting, yes, and connecting the hearts. And actually, there are many that really are being spoken to and have that compassion and that rise in them. So bringing everybody together that is already walking in that walk is incredible. And then, of course, through that, many others get to see through that walk and through that testimony. It doesn't even have to be spoken; it's just shown, and that love just really radiates and brings people in. But yeah, there's definitely a lot going on right now, that's for sure. So, um, staying in prayer, keeping your mind strong through prayer, uh, through yoga, physical activity, things that your hobbies, getting somebody on the phone if you're able, whatever it takes right now in a good way, to keep your mind in a good place and to build your mind in a good place. I would recommend that for people listening to music. um, what you need right now in a good way that just really brings peace in as much as you can to your mind, because without our minds, um, well, we don't have, that's one of the biggest things to our health is our mind, not only for how we can get through the trauma and function to move things in the walk that we're speaking of, but your mind also helps heal your body. So, you hear of people in traumatic situations physically all the time that are injured or have illnesses, and you want to keep up the stamina of the mind, and keep the positivity and the love going. And that's because that connection really is a healer, and they also say that your tongue is connected to your heart. So the words that you say and the way that you speak to others, we have to be mindful of that, because that affects our mind, that affects our mood. We have to be mindful in the way that we speak to one another.
That's great. Let's go back into a little bit history, because history. If we don't know the past, we cannot um, shape the future. So let's go into a little bit history, Sherry. A lot of people do not know. They said they're because this is a Veterans Day, a celebration. So let's go into a little bit history now, because often they said that World War II happened in Europe with Germany, and then World War I happened starting in Europe, then World War II happened in Europe, but a lot of indigenous people say the First World War was when Columbus landed in America. And when he landed in Africa, I mean, when the Europeans landed in Africa and everything, they said this was the First World War, when they went to, with the doctrine of discovery, they went to, with papal bulls issued by the Pope itself. It gave them, the Europeans, a right to actually murder, rape, pillage, steal their lands and anything they have, because they said they were not Christians, so they did not have a soul, so they would be murdered. Don't believe that was Christian at all, because Christ wouldn't have never done that. But a lot of the times that the people do not recognize that World War I did happen when Columbus landed, and hundreds of millions of people were killed or murdered. Right, Sherry? Do you believe that also?
Oh, well, right, David. And even before Christopher Columbus, but right around that same time, you had the conquistadors. I can't remember his name right off the top of my head right now. I should, but that obviously went into South America, right? Like Mexico, through Texas, down through South America, through parts of Florida, all through the conquistadors that came in. And then, of course, Christopher Columbus was a part of that and ended up in Spain himself. But yes, and carried on the doctrine of discovery. And there was a series, um, of letters, the papal bulls, and that made up the doctrine of discovery. And you're right; it had absolutely nothing to do with God. It had nothing to do with Christ, and it's still under the Catholic Church. So that's one of the things that we're trying to get revoked and looked at, um, and have been for years. But I think that we keep getting a little closer, so that's good. And, obviously, the doctrine of discovery unbelievably still has precedence in our court system today. And I'm actually, not getting any type of payment to endorse this book or anything like that. But I'm speaking from my heart here. A book that I highly recommend is Unsettling Truths. It's the history of the doctrine of discovery. Mark Charles is the author, and I don't want to mess up with saying the second author and not pronouncing his name right, but these two put out an incredible book, and it's really speaking in a way to Christians about the doctrine of discovery and how it really breaking down also biblically from a Christian viewpoint, how it has nothing to do with Christ and how demeaning and dehumanizing and unloving the doctrine of discovery has been. And so that is exactly right. And if you look at the fruits of the spirits, and for people that don't know what the doctrine of discovery, it was written by the Catholic Church, and yes, with the conquistadors, Christopher Columbus would carry over the doctrine, and it became a law. So really the church was acting as the law for the discovery, and whatever was discovered on these lands were basically given back to the church and distributed, and you could, claim ownership because our people were documented and looked at less than human, less than animals. We were completely dehumanized and killed if they felt like we weren't converting the way that we needed to convert. Um, Massacred, annihilated. I mean, it's, yeah, completely annihilated under what was considered God. And then later on, you had, actually, speaking of Hitler, Hitler looked and before World War II, which happy Veterans Day, and thank you for your service, all of our veterans. My grandfather, Basilio Flores, fought in World War II. Um, Hitler looked at our reservations here to start the concentration camps in Germany. So even through all of the years, and then after that going into the assimilation process, meaning the boarding schools. Okay, and that didn't just start by Pratt in the late 1800s, but it was continued even on to the reservations, where they would bring the boarding schools directly there, and the children were still, it was mandatory to leave your home, to forget your language at the age of 5 or 6. It was mandatory. You were brought out of your home. Your parents would go to jail if they did not turn you over. They would be criminalized. So you did not have a choice. Again, the decisions were being made. Baptisms from a lot of denominations try to blame one denomination over the other, and it goes back and forth, but actually it was all of the denominations, really. It might have started with the papal bulla and the doctrine of discovery, but it definitely was all of the denominations that were involved in the assimilation process. Kill the Indian, save the man kind of concept, which was the sterilization of our women, the sterilization of our men, the sexual abuse that you heard about even earlier, that was coming up through some of our veterans, that you can feel that trauma that has still hovered over our people. So we are very, very strong, and that's why I stay away from the word poverty when it comes to our reservations. That it's definitely, we have major hindrances, that's for sure. And even though some people have a lot of misconceptions, every tribe is different. Just because one tribe may be receiving funding doesn't mean another, that's how it works for every single tribe. And a lot of our casinos actually take away from our people, in a sense, because of the alcoholism that's rampant on our reservations. And a lot of this obviously is due to the decisions that we could not make, the decisions that were forced upon us for generations. So when we talk about this blueprint, one of the things that David and Mesfin and myself have spoken on is, and obviously not just us outreaching with our Indigenous communities and nations, is that part of the healing and bringing in the economic resources through other ways, and through wellness centers, and just different things that actually focus on the healing and the alignment that's in our DNA, that's a part of that heart and mind alignment, where our people uh, can thrive in the way that they always had before they went through major trauma. Um, so those are the things that we need to focus on, and bringing back to our communities as we rise in this new in this way of being towards our healing, to promote that true connection with the heart and mind, and growth. And we are strong people, and we are getting there, and we are coming together in those ways, and that I'm really, really, really happy to start seeing right now, because there has been major trauma, as David was wanting me to speak on some of the history that has happened here for so long with the original peoples of our home.
Let's. I was just saying to Sherry, I have to make a little bit more equal height. uh, well, one thing is that I think is important. What was the papal bull itself? Because that is actually still law actually in
Right.
the around the world actually.
There's
And it's a precedent in the courts. And what is the Papa Bull? Actually, it's a Papa Bull that, or doctrine of discovery, they call it, is a declaration of war against
yeah,
indigenous people. That is a declaration that caused the First World War of 100 million or more indigenous people were killed. I mean, we don't know the numbers because it's so
mhm.
astronomical. Some tribes were totally wiped out. Can you also tell about the tribe that you were, that
Yes.
your tribe was totally wiped out?
Well, pretty much. Yeah, it's so. Yeah, my mom is Lipon Apache Kolatakikan, which is from the condor and the eagle. Um, both names given by the Spaniards. So, Apache, that's actually a Spaniard name, Kolatakikan, as well. And the Apache really come from the Dene, which is the Navajo. Um, we've gotten so used to saying these names, and Navajo is everywhere. We use it among our own people. We talk, and use the word Navajo all the time. It's become very accustomed, but actually, Navajo is a derogatory name. It means thieves. Dene is the real name. It's the people, and our Apache are a slight dialect off from the Dene language, which is they were the warriors. They were the ones that really, well, there they were. They faced the Spaniards, and uh, they were the warriors. And so my mom's band, my great grandmother actually was probably one of the last to speak our language because we were completely annihilated. However, uh, our blood, even being mixed, our bloodline is still there, and it's still strong. Um, in certain ways, it's dwindling down as I'm mixed, but yeah, my Dane relatives and my Shema Susie Silversmith we're kind of determined to find somebody still speaking our language, which I believe that we will. And my heart language, I do not speak my heart language. I do not know my heart language. Um, Again, a decision that my family did not make uh, on their own. So we went through a lot of the assimilation process, and the Kolatakikan, now they inhabited the Rio Grande 11,000 years before the Lipon Apache even came, and they were basically a mix of different cultures because the Spaniards grouped up the different cultures, the different languages, stripped the languages, stripped the culture, and just kind of banded us all together and called us Kolatakikans. So that's how, and I forget, I should know the exact term that means, but it does have a meaning. So that's a little bit, yes, we were directly affected. And I found out later that the same conquistadors that annihilated my mom's people actually also had traveled into Florida, but that's a whole another dialogue and whole nother story between the tribes there. And as the Seminole Miccosukee and the Miccosukee really are the Seminole, um, they were, people know that they were one of the tribes that was never defeated, living in the lands that they were at that time. So anyway, there's a lot that goes into it, but yes, my family was one, I guess, even in they call us the tribe of Texas, or the lost Indians of the tribe of Texas. So in books anyway. Yeah.
Uh, Sherry, I also, when you just mentioned about Florida, I feel the need to mention a lot of people ask us, we call ourselves the three peacemakers, right? Which the name I love. But actually, there is a fourth peacemaker who was our elder, actually, that was shared the vision. His name was Ashakapit, is Bobby C. Billy, and he was the medicine man for both the Seminoles and Miccosukee
Yeah,
tribe.
they're the same peoples. Yes.
Yeah, they're the same people. They separated into two tribes, but they're originally one single one. And would you like to share a little bit about him, because I feel him. He's here today, So can you share a little bit about who he is and how his collective vision with us?
Oh wow. So um yes, you did say his traditional name, um, which means take it and walk with it. And so yes, Ashagapit was a very special person, and I'll just say that I felt very blessed to um, spend the time that I did with him when he was here with us. He's gone on his journey now. In April, it will be 3 years, so 2.5 years or so at this time. But yes, actually, after you know when I met you, David, as you know, we talked about that a little bit earlier with even Glenda Stevens drawing and things like that. Um, I had a calling and a vision that was laid onto my heart. And when I was in Standing Rock and with my relatives there, things just were even coming together stronger towards that. And it ended up leading me to Florida. I'm not going to get into all of it right now, but I was called back to Florida, and during that time, got to spend time with this amazing individual that David is referring to, who, yes, it's and was also a part of the collective vision when that was shared. And David had invited us to come to New York, and we did. We did. He was working on a project there, and that's where we actually got to meet by face by for the first time, and also the when I met Mesfin Zaid, who's our brother who isn't able to make it here today. That's when I was able to meet him by face for the first time. Um, and I wish he was here, because from his perspective of an event that happened that day, it would be great to hear him speak on. I'll speak on it a little bit, but we had also been asked to pray. What was her name, David? I can't remember her name. She went by Queen Mother. Was that?
Queen, yeah, Queen Mother, yes.
And she's like the matriarch of Harlem, and but comes from Africa. I can't remember do you remember what area in Africa?
No, no, I don't remember
I
her.
don't remember the exact region, but she was pretty much known as the matriarch of Harlem. And seniors, elders were getting kicked out of their home under eminent domain, and it was just tragic. They had nowhere to go, and she had wanted the original peoples to come and say a prayer for her ancestors, and along, with the elderly, but also offering refuge through the unfortunate incident that we also went through here, slavery, to her distant relatives that were here and brought here through slavery. And there had just been, only a few months old at that time, a statue put in front of the UN representing and showing remorse for slavery, and honoring the slaves that died. That's really what this memorial is about, this statue. And so we were doing a prayer, and at that time, there was sanctions, but there was sanctions between Ethiopia and, I get tongue twisted, David. You're how,
Eritrea,
Eritrea,
Eritrea.
yes, Eritrea and Ethiopia, and those are the regions that Mesfin is from, and the sanction had been going on for, I believe, 18 years, something like that at that time. And Ashagapit was the only one that could do a prayer that day at the UN, got through the prayer before we were removed. And later that evening, we get a call from Mesfin letting us know that the sanctions had been lifted in Africa, which was just beautiful. And I love it when Mesfin shares that. So anyway, that's why I believe that I feel that with you, David. So feeling that presence and
he
missing the
must he must be
miss
smiling now,
him.
saying,
Yes,
"Yeah."
yes, yes. We miss him, and definitely we've continued in the walk. We've definitely been continuing in the walk. So uh, yeah.
um, Another thing I think we should touch on is the power of unity and the power of being isolated. I mean, the less power when they're isolated. I just remember the time when Standing Rock in 2016 and 2017. There was a huge protest against the Dakota Access Pipeline, where over 700 tribes from around the world came to Standing Rock to support them. And even 700 tribes coming together could not defeat the corporations that were there at that time. So the corporations are quite powerful. If one tribe was standing alone, it would have been powerless. That's why there's a lot of assassination of indigenous people in the Amazon and the forest to steal their land, the minerals and the trees like that too. So there is a lot of atrocities happening. We just don't know about it. There's murders every day that of indigenous people worldwide trying to steal their resources, and even 7,000 tribes coming together was not strong enough. So what if we bring 1,000 tribes together to and support of many benevolent countries? Like we don't give up, right? So what if we make it bigger? You
Right.
know,
That's part of the focus, but I wouldn't use the way speak it in the way that you said it, that the 700 tribes wasn't strong enough, because we had over like about 730 something. I get what our remaining tribes, yes, all came together, and we had over 5,600 years ago, just to wrap your head around that. Um, However, the strength, there was so much strength that is still coming to, that shows through that unity. And yes, David, I do know what you mean, even bringing more together and developing that strength even stronger. And yes, you're absolutely right in bringing our nations together. However, i I will say they that the strength was strong enough, in the sense that how the unity did come and the prayer was started. And that is how I ended up meeting you, David. And,
that's all
you
right.
know, okay, so it definitely was strong enough. Let's say that, through things that are have come through that amazing unity that you can never, that was a moment in history that will be marked on that level of unity for sure. And so that strength is that they were definitely strong enough, because it's bringing it, it's
It
what
brought us together, right?
brought the prayer together, exactly. And then what that does is it's the backbone, right? So but then you have the rest that comes and really fortifies, yes, by bringing all of the tribes and from a global approach. Absolutely, absolutely. But however, yes, they were definitely, the strength was there, and it was so strong that it started what is happening now in such a big way towards the protection of Mother Earth. And at the same time, also good news, they are winning that battle. They are winning that battle in court, I must say, and a shout out to Standing Rock and the tribal council out that way that's been working
Can you
diligently.
make that sound to a shout out? How do I know how to make it? How do you say do it?
Yes. So yes. So there's that for and very thankful and yes, and I know that Doug Krogost, along with the rest of the council, has been working diligently on the Dakota Access Pipeline and keeping it shut down, which should be a no brainer. You know, that should definitely be a no brainer under that much water, but we won't even, that's, I just makes me shake my head. And that's another thing, I will say is that I believe that water is killing more people than guns. And it is, how our water quality and we just glad that we're doing this, walking in this way and bringing everybody together where we have this window uh, that we're working in for the preservation of our Mother Earth and humanity.
You know, the way I see it is that remember I said the Papa Bowls was a declaration against indigenous people, but also corporations are declaring war on Mother Earth when they're actually going out to destroy
Right.
Mother Earth is a declaration of war against Mother Earth. When there's a declaration of war against Mother Earth, do we sit back and say, okay, let let those people destroy Mother Earth, or we can always sit back, say we can do nothing. But there's also the moral responsibility for the future generations, right? To protect the Mother Earth. That's why at Standing Rock, all those tribes came together to remember the purpose was to protect Mother Earth in
That's
the
right.
first place. And we're giving a call out again to bring more nations together to create a permanent alliance to protect Mother Earth. And you know, they well, what we can say is that they ignited the fire. We're fanning the flames, you know, to make it grow. Right, Sherry? Is that a
Yes,
correct
collectively.
analogy?
I believe collectively, and uh, the people that, like, that's why I was saying the ones that are already walking that walk. There's quite a few, and quite a few of them from Standing Rock that have kept that flame, and so people through that collectiveness, that fanning of that flame has been continuing, and so now I totally agree. Bringing and calling on our over 1,000 Indigenous nations globally to come together and protect our medicines and our culture um, and really steward and be that educator for stewarding of Mother Earth, because it is a part of the DNA and it is there, and that relationship is has been shown through how Christians would say the fruits of the Spirit. Well, um, being stewards and respecting humanity and life and walking in that is a perfect example of what some would say the fruit of the spirits are. And I've been saying for a long time that I believe the scientists and environmentalists should be listening and should have been listening to the indigenous a long time ago. And there is through colonization, the structure of education, right? What was so amazing about Donovan earlier, he was one of our veterans that was on, Donovan Archambault, was the fact that the way that he was speaking and talking about going and bringing the elders and the youth together and re-educating in that way. He's actually a Harvard graduate himself. Okay.
Wow.
So, and okay, yes, he's a Harvard graduate. And so for him talking about unlearning, right? It's on a
Mhm.
whole nother level and perspective. And it's so true. And so you have a type and a way of life that came to our people that was considered civilized. Okay, that's what civilization meant. However, we had our own governance here and our own civilization here that was respecting humanity, that was respecting humanity. Even like I said, even though we had intertribal wars, we didn't kill each other off to extinction. So we had, this respect and the respect for natural law. So there is a different type of learning, there's a different type of education, there's other types of civilization. And I think learning how to be, and not thinking that one way is the best way, and it's the whatever is considered the superior way or the right way. uh, in a sense, I mean, don't get me wrong, we know what morals are, and people, and I'm not even going in that argument. On one will say one's right and the other one will say what's wrong. Okay, in your heart, if between morality.
I have to log back in because I cannot hear any sound. Let me just check.
Oh, okay, David.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear
Okay.
me?
Yes, I have to take off my headphones. Somebody called me and it rang
Okay.
it. Yeah, sorry.
So, so anyway, I was just speaking in the sense of civilizations and education, and the fact that we had our own education in our own language and our own heart languages here, that nobody ever took the time to learn when they said this is supposed to be a certain way, this is what's going to bring structure. So when we talk about this blueprint, I want to make this very clear. This is not along the lines of any uh, types of structure in the sense of colonization, that's for sure.
I'm going
It's
into my
selective.
copybook. The word is not going to be the colonization on the blueprint.
Yeah, exactly. Right, right, right. No, so exactly. But anyway, but the format isn't either. It's collective. Uh, and with us collectively in unity and as our people come together, and we start really focusing on that strength that David keeps speaking of, with even more tribes, coming together, and more communities. It brings the strength stronger, which is true. So yeah, I believe that we need to respect each other's cultures. And I don't like the word race. I really, really don't. I think that it's, and you hear it all over the media, people use it all the time. Um, it just kind of has become, but really it's not correct, because when you start dividing people by race, because we are all one human race, we are all human beings. Okay, so that's the unity in humanity, and learning and being human beings. We all bleed the same, we're all one human race. We are just different cultures. uh, we have different cultures. And I think that it would be a very boring place if we were all the same, cookie cutter. And so much that's what colonization has done, even in the thought process of what it is to be successful. I know, I saw it in my own home. It's, and definitely. So it's just so embedded, um, the principles of the colonized way of what it means to live, which is that really living if you don't really learn how to connect with humanity. So I believe that other educations are extremely valuable, and I encourage people to learn more how to be and listen.
Okay.
So
Sherry, let's talk a little bit about, because we're creating a blueprint for world peace today. We're creating a blueprint for every day. We have a different type of blueprint we're creating, right, for world peace. As you know, world peace is connected with other issues, right, like poverty. Yeah, that creates the scarcity principle that makes tribes fighting, like one tribe fighting against another, one nation fighting against another. What other issues are there that are connected to the obstacles to world peace? Um, so we can just create that blueprint. What do you think that has to be in this blueprint?
Oh wow, David, I kind of feel like we hit on a lot of that. For me, I feel the number one uh, thing is basically the truth being told and people, the healing. People have to, to be able to speak their truths and through all cultures, be able to speak their truths, to have communication, right? To have that heartfelt communication where that healing uh, actually begins. And I think that that start has already happened because we weren't able to do it as human beings ourselves. So, Creator, and look how through what is happening with it just being so obvious with the natural disasters that are happening right now, with the virus that is happening right now, with things that are taking place. People are being forced to come together in a different way, right? When you talk about that isolation, going through isolation right now, having time of reflection, at the same time, that goes into time of depression because reflection isn't always easy, is it? So, having that community support. So, I believe in the fundamentals of any thing. Okay, it comes to the core is love, the core is healing, um, and to get there and to use that blueprint to actually get to the circle is a multitude of different things that we've discussed, from bringing the tribes together to start these conversations the way that we're doing it right now through the Live Hope Festival and getting stories out and starting conversations, and then turning those conversations into actions into the community on grassroots levels, which we know are can be a very effective, um, back into the community with our wellness centers, with building our economic resource through ways that are in alignment with the heart and mind. These are things that are in alignment with humanity, that are in alignment of being the stewards of our humanity. Those are the fundamentals in the core, and it's just kind of like, I want to say a spider web in a way, just going out and coming back to that center. So I think that these are all the things that we're discussing, David, that go into creating that blueprint. So,
Another thing is 70% of the U.S. budget is probably even higher. Uh, National budget every year is used for war. The War Department only 1% for healthcare, 1% education. When you look at it, 70% of that money is used to for building missiles and weapons of war. And there's a War Department is huge, right? And some people say that each country should have a Department of Peace, where instead working towards peace instead of for war.
right.
What is your opinion on that? Since we spend 70% of our national budget of each country on war, shouldn't they spend a small budget on peace? What's your opinion on
Right?
that?
It would make sense, right, David? Um, so yes, and I
It
think
makes
you,
sense to
you
us because we're
yes,
called
yes,
the
and
three
and
peacemakers. But
and I think in certain ways, there's been organizations that have tried to attempt that, and obviously the UN, um, but there's no presidents for the indigenous at the UN, as you know, which is interesting, being the original peoples here. So there's definitely uh, no perfect system in the governance in any way, but we can definitely always there's people there and hearts and minds that are there that are in line and do want to improve. I do believe that. And in working in the governance that we have now and in the structures that we have now, I definitely believe that that would make sense, right, David? And I think that that goes back to the other side, and that's why we need to focus on the good wealth that overcomes the corrupt wealth at this time, because that's really where a lot of the corruption is going to lie, right? And destruction and conquer and power and the sense of what is felt to be worthy or successful or self-gain by uh, conquer and destroy, which I don't know how anybody can get off on that or feel empowered by that, but obviously a lot of the world on the other in a huge spectrum does. So yeah, I think that that's a great idea, David, and implementing that. Yeah, that would be
Yeah,
great if that was.
I have an important question for you, Sherry. You know, bringing 1,000 indigenous nations together from around the world, you think it will help bring more peace on Earth,
Well,
or and
this.
also peace on
Yes,
the Earth?
yes, yes, of course.
How? In what way? In what way?
Absolutely.
You think?
Well, I think that a lot of those things we previously even discussed, I'll touch on it a little bit, but um, when we're talking about, you know, bringing the people that are already have that awareness, and are going to want to join in that way, uh, it's it's already things that we've touched on. You've touched on the growth, the through that collaboration and just multitudes of knowledge coming together, and that knowledge and that strength is very, very powerful, and it's
Then the
powerful
question,
for humanity.
Sherry, the question is, what would indigenous people be different? Let's say if indigenous people were saying that could run nations, right, and internationally, you think they would make a do a better job than the European-centric countries who are running the world at
I
this
I
present time?
don't I don't like to put it in wording in that sense because I'm focusing on unity. So
Right.
I'm focusing on the Europeans that are doing their job and are in their governance now, for them having focus on humanity as well. And when I speak of indigenous nations around the world, that includes the European nations, the Italian nations, the Scot-Irish nations, it includes our and I'm not mentioning all the European nations, but that includes our indigenous from our European nations. And we're really, all have indigenous roots from somewhere on this earth. And really, when I speak in that way, it's going back to the early days and going back to that connection and stewardship with humanity, away from the things that were later brought in for, power, comfort, control, and division and that sense superiority. So I pray for our European leaders to uh, align the ones that aren't walking with humanity. And there's many European leaders that uh, hopefully are trying to walk with humanity at this time. But I believe in sovereignty, and I believe that our indigenous nations, yes, have their own governance and have and always have been capable of governance, and will be exceptional at what can be brought to the table through the knowledge and the education and the wisdom um, of our indigenous peoples. So, absolutely.
Just to have a small announcement, because Sherry mentioned the European indigenous, actually the Sami nation uh, contacted us and they'll be joining us. They are the indigenous of the Europe, and they actually they're right now most of their main culture is the one with the reindeer. They have a herds of reindeer. Do you know about them, Sherry?
Well, it sounds like you are sharing, so go ahead. I'm listening.
Yeah, the Sami nation are indigenous nation to in Europe actually, and they still live their traditional lifestyle. They herd a reindeer, and that is their main thing. And they're quite nomadic, that they move from one location to another, and they will be joining us at com26b.com, and you can hear from our brothers and sisters, the European actually indigenous. A lot of people don't even know that they exist, but they do. Also, Sherry herself, actually the Scott Irish were clans actually, and they were actually indigenous also. They were tribes
Yeah.
before it became Ireland or
The
Scotland, right?
clans. Yeah, they
So
had
right.
clans. Yep,
Hmm.
I have
So
my
yep.
Gaelic name is Spear Warrior. So, yeah,
Okay, cool.
absolutely.
You were also given a new name, right? Recently, I forgot the name of it. What
Yes,
was it?
so I'm not gonna I get a little tongue twisted because I don't know my heart language, which I am um, in the process. So, and my dene, which is the mother language. So, uh, I have two names, but the one from my Lakota grandmother and relatives, yes, it's Makpia Washtewia, which means good cloud woman or cloud good woman. And um, I hope I said that right. I'm pretty sure I did. But yeah,
Somebody
yeah.
will tell you
So
if you said it right or
yeah,
not.
exactly. So I'll get but yes, and yep. And then Woman of Laughter is kind of what my nickname is and my name in Dene. So
That's
yes.
perfect because you have a good laugh.
Yeah. Oh good. So yes, and so my name
Yeah.
comes from my Lakota name comes from the Lonesome Arrows side. So
Oh, perfect. My name, my name is Christian name is David Cam, but I have also my original name, which is Kam Dat Wai. And my parents gave me, they were farmers, so they gave me a farming name. So I have a really like interesting farming name. It translates into uh, the one to achieve greatness by healing the land. So
oh,
that's, yeah,
I
so
love
that's the same
that.
journey I'm on. Is trying to heal the land. But that's my original name also. So to
Oh.
achieve greatness, I haven't achieved any greatness yet, but to still
Well,
get there.
David, come on. And so, the other thing, I remember you telling me that our Christian names, Sherry and David, they mean the same thing. Remember you told me that your Christian name,
Yes, actually, yes.
it's
My name
beloved,
David.
right?
Yeah, it means beloved, beloved.
Yeah,
So
beloved.
yeah,
Yes.
so my name David means beloved. Sherry means beloved, which originally in French is chérie, means beloved. So it's like both. They're both. So I'm like a mirror half of her, and she's the mirror half of me. Right?
That's great, David. That's great.
Two
Oh,
beloved combined, joined for the double beloved.
oh. Very good. Well, um, are we going to be concluding here pretty soon, David?
Sure. Well, yes, I think we're ready to do a prayer. Do you want to
Or I
talk
was
about
thinking, oh, sorry, I didn't mean
about
to
the
interrupt you.
do you want to talk about our website if people want to donate money? Because like
I think you just said it. Wow, that was the way to say it, David. That was, I think what David is trying to get at here is that we are definitely grassroots. That is for sure. And we are, contributing and wanting to help our communities in many ways. And so we also have our musicians that have, and David, you have to finish putting our musicians up there if you haven't finished. We have our musicians that are going to be have sung for us and performed, and their information where you can order their music and help support in that way. And then we also have a link that's there if any contribution that you want to make. That would be great. So that's what David's referring to. It's at
uh,
the what,
oh,
livehopefestival.com.
yeah, we have two websites. Right now is com26v.com, com 26 the letter v.com,
David, you
and
better link
also
that.
and livehopefestival.com. So those are the
Yes.
two links would be appreciated.
Well, no,
We're trying. Go ahead.
I
Sure.
don't want to interrupt you, but I'm trying to say you should link that because I did not know about the other website at all. And so I was just sending people to our livehopefestival.com. So you should make sure that, and even for people for viewing on our website. So somehow you should figure out how to link the website is what I'm saying.
Us, three peacemakers, gave Sherry a new name. We call her the Mother of Nations, and she's
You
showing
hear me mothering. That's
her
why.
motherhood now. The motherhood now by just reminding us children we have to do all these things. So thank you, Sherry, Mother of Nations.
Yes, you hear me mothering now, mothering now.
Yes,
Yes,
okay.
I love you. I love you. So that just came to me though when you were saying the website because I didn't even realize. So however you're the mastermind with all of that and technology. So um, we'll figure that out. But you all heard it where it's at, David. If you want to say both websites again, and then we'll figure out how to make it a little easier. But I know livehopefestival.com. And what's the other website, David?
com26v.com. The
Okay.
reason why it's a strange name like that is because actually um, this year was COP26, called the United Nations Climate Change Conference. It's called Conference of the Parties 26. That means they had 26 conferences already. I don't know why they had 26 conferences and they haven't resolved the issue of climate change. They should have been just climate change. COP to number two, and it was N. There's COP 26, and there's a Paris Climate Accord, which the U.S. Pulled out of, and now the President-elect Biden wants to bring them back in. But having 26 conferences and not getting much accomplished is not very efficient. That's for sure. So we decided us indigenous people should have an alternative conference where bring the grassroots together called COM26. They're COP26 is Conference of the Parties. We said or Conference of the Movements 26, and the V is for virtual. So COM26 virtual .com. So that is meaning why we did that because we cannot just wait another year to resolve the issues of climate change, biodiversity, and other issues. So we decided to hold this ourselves at the rushed at the last minute, but we're doing our best.
Perfect. I just didn't know that it was on another. site. But no, that's good. That it explains it. But we'll just have to share those links. And David, since I opened in prayer, I thought it'd be awesome for you to lead us out in prayer.
Okay.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Father, Creator, please, we want peace on earth and peace for Mother Earth. Please guide us in your wisdom, your love, your kindness, your strength, and also to send all the angels and spiritual helpers to help Sherry, myself, Mesvin, and all our families, and all the people connected to us through com26b.com and the Life Hope Festival, to give them strength and protection and love and financial rewards, prosperity, abundance, and good health, so we can all be strong to continue this journey together in this collective vision that you have given us. We are guided by your wisdom and your direction to fulfill your wish for peace on earth and peace for Mother Earth. And we are your humble servants, and please guide us and have mercy on us and protect us. And I give a special prayer to our brother Mesvin and his brother,
Mm,
who is right now having issues dealing with health. Please
mm,
give them the strength to, and also our love and the love of all the angels, the spirits that are benevolent, and all our ancestors to protect them and to heal them, so they or have an ease of passing, so we can all uh, be
mm.
at peace. Amen.
Amen. Beautiful. Thank you so much, David. Thank you for that. It was beautiful. And many blessings. And here we go. Keep going. So missing Messfin tonight, but we'll have him back on another time soon. And for all of you that will see this either now or in the future or chopped up and edited one day, we thank you for your time and thank you for hearing us. So thank
Uh,
you.
for me, the way I see it, Sherry, is
Yeah.
we'll make history. Later on, they'll look back how did that thousand nations come together, and they said, "Wow, they started there." That's the point where they turned back the video, where they started, and we're gonna say, "We did it," and that's how we started. We started out with one become two, two become three, three become four, and that's how we got the thousand.
So, and it started in yes, yes, and that collective vision started at the same time, bubbling simultaneously. So
Mm.
it's very beautiful, and yes, and that part will probably be rewind and played over and over, David. Or hopefully you'll play it with your grandkids. I already have mine, little Jackson. Well, and more to come. So, many blessings and thank you all and have a wonderful evening. Much love.
Thank you all, and see you again soon.